Revealed. Your sacred purpose beyond belonging in this life. 3 prophetic insights await. In the heart of a quaint rural village, there was a place where the divine met the mundane. The local chapel, a charming stone building that stood like a sanctuary against life's tempests. Each Sunday, Sarah, a devoted single mother of 2, entered its welcoming embrace with a heart full of hope. With every step, she felt the presence of St. Jude enveloping her, a saint renowned for miracles in lost causes. The echoes of hymns lingered in the air, each note a thread weaving her into the fabric of her community. She knelt in reverent prayer, tears glimmering like dew on grass. She whispered her most urgent wishes. Would she be strong enough to support her ailing mother? Could she guide her children through life's complexities? In these moments of vulnerability, the weight of uncertainty pressed down like thunderclouds, but the promise of divine guidance remained her lantern in the dark. Your heart shall be filled with purpose, Sarah. A voice echoed, gentle yet powerful, seemingly from the wooden cross above her. Her heart raced. Who had spoken? What wondrous secrets awaited her? A surge of energy lifted her spirits. This was no ordinary Sunday. Something profound was brewing within the sacred walls. That evening, gathered around their worn kitchen table, Sarah led her children in prayer, their voices merging in a sweet harmony of faith. Suddenly, the church elder entered, his wise eyes piercing through the shadows of doubt that often clouded her mind. I have a word for you, dear Sarah, he said, his voice steady as the ancient timbers of their chapel. You are called not just to endure but to illuminate. Your journey entwines love and resilience. Embrace it. Before they could process the weight of his words, chaos erupted. A sudden cry pierced the quiet as her mother collapsed. Panic gripped the family, but in that moment, the village rallied. Neighbors stormed in, murmuring prayers that rippled through the air like waves crashing on sacred shorelines. There, surrounded by love and kindness, Sarah felt a surge of hope. It was like an electric current of faith, knitting their hearts together, uniting them in collective prayer. As they prayed for healing, miracles followed. A soft light enveloped her mother, illuminating the room like dawn breaking over the fields. Laughter and cries of joy erupted as the elder announced her recovery, an astonishing miracle. Sarah's heart soared, yet dark clouds loomed. She realized the danger of relying on earthly plans for stability rather than divine providence. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With newfound conviction, she knelt again, praying for clarity amid the storm of doubt. In that hushed space filled with whispers of divine love, her heart caught fire. A realization washed over her, a distinct essence of purpose dawning. It wasn't just about her faith. It was about igniting that same conviction within her village. As she opened her eyes, the candles flickered wildly, as if stirred by an unseen breeze. Her mother sat uplifted, beams of light dancing around her. The villagers watched in awe, the doubt that previously clouded their hearts beginning to lift. Sarah felt the heavy chains of skepticism fracture like glass, revealing the glorious beauty of divine wonder. With one burning question on her mind, she clutched her heart. Could her purpose extend beyond the chapel walls? Would she rise to face overwhelming disbelief, kindling spirits to embrace faith anew? Just as the light dimmed, hush fell over the crowd, their eyes wide with holy anticipation. Here lay the threshold of a choice. An awakening awaited her, promising a revelation that could alter not just her destiny, but that of her cherished community. The atmosphere crackled with potential as Sarah stood at the crossroads of her faith. Her heart thumped in tandem with the cadence of the prayers resonating within the chapel walls. The faces around her glowed with a mixture of hope and wariness, like the first light of dawn breaking through the night. In the quiet space between breaths, Sarah sensed an awakening deep within her spirit. It was a call, a whisper resonating through the very foundation of her being. She felt St. Jude's presence grow stronger, as if he were saying that her time to shine had come. Believe, the voice urged again, vibrant yet calm, and you will see the miraculous. Sarah's eyes locked onto the gentle flicker of the candle flames, thoughts swirling like whispers in the wind. She imagined the lives awaiting her embrace, the hearts yearning for love and guidance. Her mission began to crystallize. Yes, it was about her family, but it transcended even that. It was a call to her entire village, a chance to revive hope and resilience buried under layers of doubt and despair. Let us build a bridge of faith, she declared suddenly, her voice soaring above the murmurs. A ripple of surprise washed over the crowd, shuffling murmurs following her bold proclamation. Like a flame igniting a forest, she felt the weight of their attention. Eyes glimmered with curiosity, some even glistened with tears. Was she daring to step beyond the role of a quiet observer in her community? With her palms lifted and her heart wide open, she spoke from the depths of her soul. We have witnessed a miracle. Do you not feel the power of love that unites us? Together we have the strength to uplift one another. No longer shall we shy away from our purpose. The silence that followed was electric. Then, an elder from the back of the room stood, trembling slightly but with a steadfast resolve. Your words ignite a passion long forgotten. Dear Sarah, we have waited too long, bound by fear, while the gift of faith lies dormant within us. Amid nodding heads and whispered affirmations, Sarah's heart swelled. She was not alone. The spirit of unity surged forth, weaving like a colorful tapestry across the chapel. The idea spread like fire in dry grass. Villagers began to rise, sharing their own struggles and desires. Together, we can create a space for healing, for worship, and for community. One cried out, followed by another. Let us gather every week, share our burdens, and rejoice in our victories. As enthusiasm built, laughter mixed with tears, and Sarah knew they were on the brink of something extraordinary. Gazes, once filled with doubt, turned brighter, inspired by the promise of connection, community, and faith revival. Yet, amidst the gathering momentum, a stitch of uncertainty wove through her spirit. What would it mean to initiate such a movement? Would they withstand the storms of adversity? As the congregation began to plan their newfound mission, she allowed herself a moment of stillness, feelings swirling inside. Sarah knew deep-rooted darkness might still lurk at the edges of their united light. Cast your burdens to the Lord, she spoke softly, almost to herself, for where there is unity, there is strength. Eyes now sparkled with hope, yet questions loomed in the air. What opposition would they face? What trials awaited them on this path they envisioned together? As the candlelight danced, illuminating their joyful faces, Sarah felt the stirring within her heart grow stronger. What lay ahead would demand unwavering faith, courage, and perhaps a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to believe. And then, the question rose in her heart, daring her to ponder. Would the strength of their shared faith conquer the shadows yet unseen, or would they falter amidst doubt? Each heartbeat sent a prayer whispering into the heavens, filled with sacred anticipation. What divine mystery lay just beyond the horizon of their collective awakening? As Sarah stood guided by the light of faith, she felt the energy of the room swell like an ocean tide, drawing everyone closer together. Hearts once steeped in quiet desperation began to resonate, a rhythm fueled by an unshakable belief in possibility. A soft yet powerful voice pierced through the joyful chaos. It was Miriam, a woman whose wisdom had seen many seasons. What you speak is right, dear Sarah. Our togetherness brings about strength, but we must prepare. The road ahead is not without thorns. Miriam's caution echoed heavily, and Sarah's heart quickened. What challenges lay ahead? The congregation paused, faces shifting from exuberance to contemplation. Just then, Nathaniel, a young man known for his musical gift, lifted his guitar and strummed a hopeful chord. Let us sing in unity, and let our voices drown out the doubts. With each note we proclaim our faith. The melody spread like an electric current, uplifting spirits and infusing the air with fervor. New hopes and aspirations blossomed. The room became a sanctuary of shared resolve. As they sang, Sarah closed her eyes, allowing the harmonies to wash over her, each note a thread weaving their hearts even tighter. But even in this moment of joy, shadows flickered at the edges of her mind. Would they face opposition? Would their newfound hope be strong enough when real adversity struck? Let us not forget, she interjected softly, her voice weaving into the melody. We were made for challenges, just like the earth was made for storms. We must lean into one another and create a foundation strengthened by faith. An elder, Naomi, raised her hands, palms open to the heavens. Indeed, together we are like an unbreakable cord. Alone we may fray, but together we will strengthen fiber by fiber. Where one of us stumbles, another will lift. Sarah sensed a surge of energy ignite in the air, the palpable faith beginning to spill outside the chapel, extending into their village and beyond. It felt like the awakening of something ancient and powerful, a tradition of strength passed from generation to generation. What began as whispers of doubt transformed into declarations of belief. Voices filled with laughter could be heard discussing their plans for gatherings and community outreach. They would create a haven where healing felt tangible, an oasis for souls yearning for connection and solace. Yet, even as ideas flowed, Sarah couldn't shake the thought that deeply nested in each of their lives could be the very trials that had once held them captive. Underneath the hope, the shadows of vulnerability still loomed. Share your burdens, she reminded gently. Bring to light what has held you back. Only then can our faith shine even brighter. Comments and confessions began to emerge, a sweet fragrance of honesty. The sincerity in their words fortified Sarah's heart, and she began to feel daring once again. Suddenly, David, a farmer struggling through a dire season, broke through the cacophony. I believe that together we can shed the weight of worry. Even as we face trials, I trust in the power of our connected spirits. His words ignited a fervor in the hearts of those who heard. Murmurs of agreement cascaded like waves crashing upon a shore. It was as if the very ground beneath their feet had shifted, releasing the burdens of isolation. With every voice, with every heartbeat echoing faith, Sarah opened her eyes, met the gaze of those around her, and smiled. May our love bind us, for when we join our hearts, we become an unstoppable force, she chanted, rallying others like a conductor leading an orchestra. A surge of devotion filled the room, yet a whisper brushed against her spirit. But what will it take to sustain this movement through the storms to come? As they sang and gathered their collective strength, a question loomed larger. Would their faith be a beacon strong enough to pierce through the inevitable darkness that awaited? In that defining moment, Sarah realized the time for prayer was near. They would need courage, and the answers to their questions rested in a higher calling. Would the embrace of their community lead them through trials unknown, or would doubts rise once more? She could only hope that each step taken in faith would illuminate the path ahead. As the last note lingered in the air, a deep silence enveloped the room. The congregation stood in reverence, hearts beating in sync, as if tethered to one divine rhythm. There was a palpable shift. Anxiety mingled with a profound expectancy that wrapped around each soul like a warm blanket. Sarah could feel the weight of what was to come, and yet, there was a comforting certainty that flickered like a candle in the dark. Let us seek clarity, she whispered, breaking the stillness. For in stillness, we may hear the whispers of God guiding us. Everyone bowed their heads, hands reaching out as if to grasp the invisible threads of the Spirit hovering above them. The air thickened with intention, each breath drawing them closer to the source of hope and strength. During that sacred moment of prayer, Sarah felt a hand touch her shoulder warm and firm. She turned to see Miriam's kind eyes filled with encouragement. Remember, Miriam said softly, faith is like a seed bursting forth through the soil. It doesn't matter how dark the night is. The seed will struggle and break through to find the light. Yes, Sarah thought, but what happens when the rain comes? When storms batter the tender plants? As if answering her inner query, A low rumble echoed in the distance. The skies outside darkened, casting an ominous shadow upon the chapel. Gasps filled the room, and the energy shifted from hope to concern. "The storm is here," Naomi said, lifting her arms again, this time as if to embrace the chaos. "Storms are not to be feared," she proclaimed with unwavering strength. "They are the very force that prepares us for growth. Let the tempest come. We are not alone." Resilience sparked in the hearts around her. Sarah felt emboldened, knowing that storms could not drown their spirits if they clung to one another. "Together," she called out, let our roots intertwine, seeking to grow deeper even as we are tested." Nathaniel began to strum a gentle melody, finding harmony amidst the turbulence. Other voices soon joined, forming a chorus that swelled and soared like wings on the wind. The music wrapped around them, an invitation to find peace in the eye of the storm. In that moment, Sarah sensed a stirring in her heart, a conviction blossoming with each note. "We have each other," she declared, "and we have faith that transforms fear into courage, despair into hope." Miriam moved closer, her voice rising above the others. "The storms may test us, but they will also reveal the foundation of our faith. Trials will come, my dear ones, but like gold refined in fire, we will shine even brighter." Voices rose to meet her fervor, echoing declarations of courage. Yet, even as joy erupted in song, shadows danced again at the edges of Sarah's mind. What if the challenges weren't just external? What if the doubts within each heart were harsher than the storm outside? "Can we unravel the storms of our own hearts?" she asked, her voice trembling with urgency. "What fears lie deep within us, waiting to be birthed into the light?" A hush fell upon the congregation. Sarah's heart raced as she realized they stood at the threshold of something profound. Their collective expressions curious, apprehensive, shone with a desire for authenticity. "Let us prepare," she encouraged gently. "Lay bare our fears, for in sharing, we will start to unravel the vines that have choked our growth." Through the whispers, amidst pouring rain that began to drum on the roof, hearts began to open. Stories of doubt, resentment, and loneliness threaded together, weaving a tapestry of vulnerabilities. Every confession drew them closer, grounding them in their shared humanity. But just then, a flash of light illuminated the chapel, erasing the darkness for but a heartbeat signaling that perhaps a divine revelation was at hand. Could this storm be an invitation? Sarah wondered aloud. Are we being called to rise above not just as a community, but as individuals discovering the true depth of our faith? The questions hung heavily in the air, waiting to be answered. As the congregation contemplated, Sarah felt the anticipation of divine intervention brewing. Would they emerge from the storm transformed, or would they falter beneath its weight? It was clear the revelation ahead would reshape everything they believed. What would they discover? When the storm passed and their eyes were opened to the true purpose woven into the very fabric of their lives. The storm raged on outside, relentless drops hammering against the chapel roof as if heaven itself were drumming a profound message. Within the hushed congregation, hearts beat with a melodic uncertainty, souls trembling on the brink of something new. Sarah sensed the energy shifting again, as if God were preparing to unveil secrets that had long lain dormant. What if this storm isn't just weather? She dared to muse. What if it symbolizes the tumult within us all? A collective murmur rose, a tide of voices echoing the weight of her words. Each face reflected a kaleidoscope of emotions searching, yearning, and oh, how they desired connection. Let us ponder, she continued, her voice steadying with resolve. The winds may swirl around us, but within our hearts beats the power to conquer the chaos. Let us take this moment to brave the vulnerable and share our storms. Miriam's hands stretched out, her face radiant under the flickering lights like a beacon of faith. Together, we unearth our doubts, she declared. In transparency, we find freedom. This is where true community flourishes. In that instant, the walls faded as individual stories rose like offerings. Voices spoke of fears that had festered in silence, anxiety about the future, grief over lost connections, and the shame that sometimes cloaked them like a heavy shroud. Life has dealt us its fair share of storms, Naomi added, her tone emboldening as the rain surged outside. But we stand unbroken in our truth. Speaking these fears is a step toward healing. It is surrendering to God's grace. As each story poured forth, Sarah felt renewed warmth wash over her. There was something sacred unfolding. Every confession was a thread, intertwining their hearts in a tapestry of resilience and hope. Amidst the storm, a voice, quietly yet powerfully, spoke up from the back. It was Ethan, usually reserved and contemplative. I often feel unworthy, he shared, his brow furrowing, like I'm being carried along without purpose. But here, I realize that my struggles can serve others if I let them. The truth of his words resonated like a clarion call. What if their individual storms were meant for something greater? What if their struggles could illuminate the path for those still lost in darkness? The energy in the room shifted again, slowly building as one voice after another propped up what was frail. Sarah looked around and saw the collective courage growing. Together, they transformed despair into a tapestry of resilient faith. Each of our storms reveals not just our fears but also the depth of our calling, she proclaimed, her spirit lifted. God invites us to share our journeys. Through these stories, we find purpose not in perfection but in our shared humanity. As the last note of her statement faded, a brilliant lightning flash illuminated the room, dancing through the stained glass windows, casting colorful reflections that moved like the Holy Spirit itself. Can you feel it? Sarah asked, breathless. Could that light be a sign of what awaits us? What divine purpose is emerging in the stillness that follows the storm? In that moment of anticipation, silence settled again, but this time it felt alive, electric with possibility. Let us not close the door on this sacred revelation, Miriam whispered, and everyone nodded, eyes wide and expectant, hearts open and ready. The storm may yet bruise their branches, but the promise loomed tantalizingly ahead, a promise full of purpose beyond their wildest dreams. What gifts awaited them on the other side of this tempest? What revelations were searching to break through the cracks in their hearts, waiting for the storm to pass? Could it be that their greatest strength lay in their vulnerability? The stillness that settled in the chapel felt heavy with expectancy, as if the very air vibrated with unspoken possibilities. Sarah stood, heart racing as she gazed at the faces around her, glowing with a mix of wonder and trepidation. The storm outside continued to unleash its fury, but within these walls, hope danced like flickering candles, refusing to be extinguished. Ethan spoke again, his eyes glimmering like the storm-touched sky. What if our vulnerability is actually our armor? The scars we carry can illuminate the way for others. I feel like a candle, ready to light the path ahead. His words struck a profound chord, resounding through their collective consciousness. A whisper flowed through the congregation, weaving stories like sacred threads. Each heart, once heavy with burden, lifted in faith, empowered by the shared experience of pain. As one person shared their past battle with loss, another spoke of a challenging relationship, creating a beautiful symphony of human experience, harmonizing in their honest admissions. Naomi, emboldened by the atmosphere of love and acceptance, raised her hand. We each have moments that define us, she said softly but with conviction. These storms shape our understanding of grace. I lost my job last year, and I felt cast adrift. But now, I realize that losing my way led me to a path of deeper reliance on God. My despair transformed into a prayer for direction. I learned that storms push us towards the light. Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes. The vulnerability of these sacred moments so raw, yet so uplifting, drew her closer to the divine. She nodded, as connections tightened and spirits soared. Let us embrace this, then, she called out. Let the storm guide us. What if the chaos in our lives is the very canvas God uses to paint a masterpiece of hope? The congregation leaned in, captivated by the prospect of transformation. In response, Miriam stood and raised her arms wide, embodying a spirit of surrender. My dear friends, the storms can shake us, but they can also sanctify us. Look at the trees outside. They bend but do not break. They stand tall, roots deepened by every tempest. Let us learn to be like those trees. A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the chapel, igniting faith like wildfire. The air was now thick with anticipation. Hearts warmed by the realization that perhaps their vulnerabilities were not to be hidden but shared. God invites us to reframe our struggles, Ethan added, his voice steady. If we can see our past pains as instruments of healing, we can tap into a divine calling. What if we become vessels of grace, lighting the way for others lost in their storms? The gravity of his suggestion hung in the air, and everyone felt the weight of it. A wave of realization washed over them, a collective understanding that their individual burdens were indeed a part of a larger tapestry, woven by divine hands. Sarah gazed through the stained glass windows, where the storm transformed into a kaleidoscope of colors dancing on the walls. What beauty, what divine artistry emerges from our struggles. As we share our light, we are not merely surviving. We are thriving. With her heart racing, Sarah knew they were standing on the threshold of something monumental. But, she continued, rallying her thoughts, what if the greatest test lies ahead? Are we prepared to let our stories unfold? What if, in embracing our purpose, we find that the storm has only just begun? A gasp echoed through the congregation. A chilling thrill of understanding mingled with uncertainty. They held their breath, wrapped in sacred wonder, gazing outward at a future filled with both promise and challenge. As the last rumble of thunder echoed off into the distance, the question lingered in the air. What would they discover as they stepped boldly into the unknown? Would they embrace the trials ahead as parts of a divine revelation, or would they shy away from the revealing grace that awaited them? The room pulsed with a divine energy, a vibrant tapestry of emotions woven together by shared stories and fervent faith. Sarah felt it surge through her, igniting a fire in her belly. The storm outside raged on, but its chaos mirrored the rising tide of purpose inside the chapel. They had gathered, not just to share burdens, but to awaken to something deeper. Are we ready? Ethan asked, taking a step forward, his eyes bright, ready to confront what we've kept locked away. What if our greatest fears are the portals to our greatest joys? We might find our true strength on the other side. A ripple of nervous laughter cascaded through the crowd, mingling with the distant rumble of thunder. Each face reflected vulnerability and curiosity, an openness that invited further exploration. Miriam's voice rose again, strong and steady. Fear is a thief, she declared, robbing us of our joys and diminishing our faith. But when we acknowledge our fears, we strip them of their power. These very storms, the heartaches, the losses, they are not our end but our beginning. As she spoke, Sarah felt the weight of these powerful words engulf her, diffuse her reservations. It sparked a realization. We are not defined by our storms. We are redefined in them. Our scars are reminders that we've endured, that we've grown. The congregation murmured in agreement, a collective resonance of hope and healing filling the space. Let us share not just the storms we've weathered, Ethan encouraged, but also what we've learned from them. How have they shaped us? How have they turned us toward the light? Sarah's heart raced as she scanned the faces before her, so many stories hidden beneath the surface. An elder, seated in the back, slowly raised his hand, trembling with emotion. I lost my wife last year. It felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. But in that darkness, I discovered an unwavering faith. It became my anchor, my guide. A deep silence enveloped the room, absorbing his honesty. Tears glistened in the eyes of many, as they recognized the raw truth in his words. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah said softly, her throat tight. In your vulnerability, you are a beacon of hope. Encouraged by his bravery, others began to speak, each story unique yet connected through common threads of trial, perseverance, and renewed faith. The air thickened with a sacred nectar, nourishing their spirits and deepening the bonds they shared. I was lost in my addiction, said a younger man, his voice quaking but resolute. It nearly consumed me, but in the darkest nights, I felt a whisper, a calling back to life. It was faith that brought me back from the brink. The congregation gasped collectively at such profound transformation. They could feel the divine purpose in every word shared. Each testimony sculpted around the truth that storms can forge new beginnings. Yet, as more opened their hearts, Sarah sensed an impending climax of the moment. "Isn't this what we crave?" she asked, her voice steady. "Not just belonging, but a shared understanding of sacred purpose. Through our trials, we become the hands and feet of grace." The room echoed with quiet contemplation, as a tangible tension filled the air. "What if," Sarah added, leaning in, "the greatest revelations lie just beyond our willingness to share our depths? What if those who hear our stories are transformed into the disciples they're called to be?" An excited hush enveloped the group, igniting their anticipation for what lay ahead. And then, with the storm still rumbling like a distant drumroll outside, she dared to pose the question that wrapped around her heart like a vine. What if God is preparing us for something greater than we can fathom? Are we truly ready to step into this unknown? With this, the chapel held its breath, anticipation hanging heavy in the air like the storm clouds outside. Would they find the divine calling waiting for them, or would they turn back, clinging to familiar shores? The stillness held for what felt like an eternity. Then, like a wave crashing upon the shore, a voice broke through the silence. "I'm ready." It was a young woman named Lila, her blue eyes shimmering with resolve. "I've lived under the weight of my fears for so long. I was afraid of being alone, afraid of not being enough. But when I felt that whisper too, it said to stand tall, to embrace my truth." A ripple of encouragement surged through the crowd. Faces lit up with admiration as Lila stood taller, a fierce spirit igniting within her. "I realized that my fears were not chains to bind me, but instruments to teach me. I faced them and found strength I didn't know I possessed. I felt the hand of God lifting me." Her words reverberated, drawing laughter and tears in equal measure, each person feeling their own heartbeat synchronize with hers. "Can you hear that?" Ethan spoke again, his voice steady. "It's the voice of freedom. Each time one of us shares our experience, the air around us fills with the essence of our faith. We're peeling away the layers of doubt and opening the doors to what lies ahead." As the storm raged on outside, its booming voice turned into a rhythmic hymn, echoing off the chapel walls, a natural symphony to the sacred revelation taking place within. Emboldened, another member of the congregation rose. "I never thought I'd have the courage to share, but here I am. I've struggled with unforgiveness. It weighed on my heart like an anchor. Then, I lost my sister, and I knew I couldn't let bitterness steal my joy. Forgiveness became my prayer." A collective sigh swept through the room, a balance of sorrow and hope. They recognized the beauty of letting go, the peace that comes when chains are broken. "Forgiveness sets you free," murmured Miriam, eyes glistening. "It's in the act of releasing that we truly embrace life." The crowd began to respond in a whisper, then build up to a chorus of agreement. They were bonding through shared experiences, shaping a tapestry of grace and resilience. Each individual's pain morphed into collective strength as the testimonies continued. Sarah could feel an electric energy weaving through them, an unseen thread connecting each heart. There was something so profound when they chose to speak. It was as though heaven was welcoming them, encouraging their every step. "Let us not hold back," Sarah urged. "Let us dig deeper. What else is waiting to be revealed? What else has God asked us to bring into the light?" The room responded with an enthusiastic murmur, eyes sparkling with anticipation. This was turning into a movement, a divine orchestration of souls, ready to break free into their destinies. And then, in the midst of their sacred sharing, a crash of lightning lit up the stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the chapel floor. A hush fell over them while Sarah's heart skipped. Maybe, just maybe, she felt the stirring within. God isn't just preparing us for something greater. Maybe He is already here, waiting for us to take the leap of faith. The collective heartbeat quickened, pulsing in anticipation of the next revelation. "He is with us in the chaos," Lila affirmed. "We're not stepping into uncertainty alone." As the echo of grace wrapped around them, Sarah's voice trembled with deep urgency. So, what miracles could emerge if we choose to embrace our sacred purpose? What divine path unfolds when we walk forward in faith? With every heartbeat, every breath, they could feel the weight of divine possibilities. Outside, the storm stormed on, powerful yet beautiful. And within the chapel, another sacred moment awaited them, a cliff where their next step could change everything. As the lightning faded and the glow from the stained glass softened around them, Sarah felt an urgent nudge in her spirit. The storm outside rumbled, but it reflected only a fraction of the tempest stirring within the gathered hearts. They stood on the brink, each person poised at the edge of a powerful transformation. "Can you feel that?" Ethan's voice rose, breaking the apprehensive silence. "It's like the very air is charged with possibility." Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the congregation. They were stepping into something holy, a moment suspended in time where God's presence hovered like a warm embrace. Another voice broke through the crowd, resonating with vulnerability. "I've spent years feeling invisible, lost in the shadows of my own insecurities." It was Marcus, who had been silent until now. His hands trembled as he spoke. "But tonight, I'm tired of hiding. I'm ready to see the light God has for me." His last words burst forth like a candle igniting a room. The collective energy shifted, igniting encouragement from those around him. "You're not alone, Marcus," someone shouted, as others echoed their support, their hands raised in affirmation. Sarah stepped closer to him, her heart swelling with compassion. In this atmosphere of truth, we are not just revealing our struggles. We are also uncovering God's promises. The sanctuary was alive now, filled with voices declaring their burdens, casting them into the open air like sacred offerings. "I have been afraid of sharing my dreams. I am ready to confront my past. I long for healing in my family." Each declaration wove into a beautiful tapestry of faith, transforming the room into a haven of courage. In this sacred vulnerability, they were laying the foundations of the burdens that would no longer define them. A sense of urgency thickened in the air. "This is not just about sharing," shouted Lila, her eyes aflame with passion. "This is about stepping into our divine purpose. We weren't created to blend in. We were made to shine." The room erupted in a wave of applause, a roaring affirmation of new identities. Dreams forgotten began to flicker back to life, the embers of hope stirred by collective faith. Just then, Miriam stepped forward, her gaze steady. "Sometimes, God's purpose for us is hidden within our pain, waiting for the right moment to emerge." She glanced at the storm outside. "Just like this storm, our struggles can shape us. They can cleanse us, prepare us for what lies ahead." The crowd shared a collective breath, sensing the truth woven in her words. "Yes," they responded, some wiping away tears, others clasping hands in agreement. "There is something else." Sarah's tone shifted, filling with prophetic anticipation. "If we, together, dare to let go, to let God truly guide us, we could discover realms of grace we never imagined." As the storm raged outside, inside the chapel, a quiet resolve settled among them. They were ready to dive deeper, to shed layers of lingering doubts and embrace the extraordinary. "Let us not stop here," Lila exclaimed, her voice pure with exhilaration. "What if we took a moment now to lean into that divine whisper? What if we allowed ourselves the grace to dream again?" As she spoke, a hush enveloped the room, hearts resonating with the hope of rekindled dreams. In that sacred silence, Sarah sensed the weight of divine possibilities hanging in the air, pregnant with expectancy. Would they be willing to step into the unknown? The moment felt suspended, a divine invitation echoing in the stillness. Are we willing, friends, to surrender to the unfolding? With the storm outside as a backdrop, a single question pierced the silence, embedding itself into their souls. What awaits us if we truly open our hearts to the vision God has for us? A profound calm washed over the chapel as the storm outside raged on. Each person's heart beat in rhythm, unified in purpose and expectation. Sarah stood at the forefront, deeply aware that divine transformation was on the cusp of manifestation. Are we prepared? she asked, her voice steady and filled with devotion. Not just to share our burdens but to embrace the power of our collective light? Whispers of agreement rose among the congregation, a tide of belief swelling, ready to overflow. Ethan stepped forward again, his voice piercing the palpable tension. We shared our stories, our fears, and now we can release them. Together, we take a stand for our sacred purpose. We are not just here to survive. We are here to thrive. A fervent cheer erupted, shaking the shadows of doubt that had lingered too long. Sarah felt her heart swell with joy. This was more than a movement. They were becoming an unstoppable force of hope and love. Let us remember, she continued, the storms will come. They are part of our journey. But we're learning to dance in the rain, to let our roots grow deeper. Faith is our anchor. With each declaration, the atmosphere crackled with energy, as if infused by divine electricity. The candles flickered, and a warm glow enveloped the room, creating a sacred sanctuary filled with revived spirits. They were ready. Can you feel God's presence among us? Lila shouted, eyes brimming with fire. We are standing on holy ground. Together, we can ignite a divine flame that will spread far beyond our walls. Our stories don't just belong to us, they belong to the world, waiting to inspire others. Yes, came Ethan's voice, and others echoed him, voices rising in a crescendo of support. We are vessels of hope. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she witnessed the transformation unfolding. Here they were, mended hearts, ignited spirits, stepping boldly into the light. Let us commit to this sacred path together, she urged, to build a bridge of faith. We will gather to share, to uplift, to empower one another, and let our collective light shine bright to dispel darkness. With fervor, she continued, today, we declare our sacred purpose. We are destined for greatness, united in faith. We will not cower in fear, but rise as one, a community forged in love, ready to face whatever storms may come. The crowd erupted, voices soaring as if the very walls trembled with their resolve. Together, 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 they chanted, each heartbeat resonating with a newfound clarity. The storm rumbled outside, lightning illuminating the chapel as a reminder of their journey ahead. Sarah took a deep breath, acknowledging the challenges still looming, yet knowing that together they would weather any storm. In vulnerability lay their strength. In unity lay their purpose. Sarah took Miriam's hand, the elder's presence grounding her. What will our first step be? She asked, her eyes sparkling with determination. The congregation paused, anticipation thick in the air. We shall create a place of healing, Miriam declared, her voice imbued with wisdom. A sanctuary where we share our struggles, our joys, and invite others to find grace amid life's turbulence. Yes, let our gatherings become a beacon, a place where all are welcome. Sarah responded, her voice filled with passion. Through prayer, music, and love, one by one, individuals began to step forward, inspired to act. Nathaniel with his guitar, ready to lead in song. Ethan pledging to reach out to youth in need. Lila resolving to share her story with all who felt invisible. Each person's commitment wove another thread into their tapestry of love as they opened their hearts. Sarah felt the air around them thicken with possibility. What miracles shall we witness when we put our faith into action? She whispered. Her eyes scanned the room, adoration swelling as countless hands reached out, joined together a united front against the storms of life. They were no longer just a congregation. They had become a family bound by faith, resilience, and love. Let us never forget, Sarah said, raising her arms as the congregation mirrored her, faces alight with hope. In every darkness, we find our light. In every fear, we shall uncover our courage. As the last echoes of their voices reverberated through the chapel, the storm outside began to wane. The wind whispered gently, almost in agreement, while sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the space with golden rays. Today is just the beginning. Sarah smiled, her heart full. Together we step forward into our purpose. As we light the world around us, let us not forget those still waiting for their awakening. With determined hearts and unwavering faith, they stepped out into the world, arms intertwined, hearts aglow with purpose, ready to become the manifestation of divine love and courage. Sarah felt the divine call rise within her. Let every follower of Christ who hears our message rise and join us. Our story is just beginning. Together, we shall renew hope in every soul around us. And as they walked from the chapel into the brightening day, the dawn of new beginnings awaited them, a mission of grace, healing, and divine purpose unleashed. Now, dear friends, take the moment to reflect on your own journey. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread hope far and wide. Tell us your reactions and testimonies about this divine ending in the comments. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful manifestation. This is the moment to show your support, and together, we can light up the world with faith. Don't wait even one more second.